I always say that I'd rather selling it with not enough profit in it than not selling it at all.
Of course.
So again, it goes back to don't be greedy.
Yeah.
The first profit is the best profit. So get it sold. Yes, it's not what we'd like to have out of the vehicle. It's not what we need, but it's a profit. It's sold. We can put that money back and go again.
Hello and welcome back to the third episode of the David Spear podcast. I'm your host, Elliot Spear. Join us today where we'll be discussing what David's learned over the past 40 years in the business. David, welcome back. Dad.
Thank you.
So, first off, really, what makes you passionate about the industry, and what keeps you driven?
Passion gives you energy, gets you up in the morning. I think that's the most important thing for me. Is constantly on my mind. Passion drives me forward. Wake first thing in the morning, I think of the business and I think about what I'm going to do that day, and it gives me a purpose. And I think that it's so important in business. If you haven't got passion, it'd be very difficult to succeed.
I probably know the answer to this already, but do you think you're as driven now as you were 10, 15 years ago?
I am probably not on the same level, because the difference between now and perhaps 10, 15 years ago is that I'm surrounded now by great people, really good people who run the business. So my passion now is overseeing the business and making sure that, firstly, that we make enough money to cover the overheads each month, and that everybody enjoys coming to work. And I think that's so important. And passion gives you that when you work, when you wake up first thing in the morning. You've got to have a passion for what you do.
Yeah,
not just me, but everybody who works here as well. I think that when you get up, you need to be looking forward to going to work. And if you don't, then it's going to be a struggle, or it's going to be a challenge. And I think that everybody in life, and my advice would be to anybody now, if you were in a job where you've got no passion for it and you don't enjoy it, then have a rethink and, do something that you love, that you enjoy. And when you get up in the morning, you're looking forward to that day to go and do something, and you do it with a passion.
Of course, yeah. So the drive and the passion is still there. It's just your interests have changed over the years, maybe.
Yes, yeah. I'm passionate about the business, but I'm passionate about other things as well. So I'm passionate. I love travel. I love to travel and go on holidays. So I'm passionate about that. I've got activities that I enjoy, sports, yeah. As you know, I enjoy golf, I enjoy cycling. So I'm passionate about those things. And I think that, passion is a big word in life, that if you do things with passion, then I think that you really enjoy it.
Of course, yeah.
And get the best out of life, and business, or whatever you do.
Yeah, definitely. Let's roll back the years to maybe 40 years ago when you did start in the industry. What do you wish you knew before you started your career, and what would be the one thing you told your younger self?
If you had a mentor, or somebody had told me 40 years ago what to expect in business, so that it's not a bed of roses, it's not easy, it's not going to be plain sailing. There are going to be challenges that you face along the road, and some of those challenges will be quite difficult and will really test you. And because when you come along, you think, and you can go along for periods of time where everything is going along well, and then all of a sudden you come to a challenge, or you have to make a big decision in the business about things, and that's a bit of a shock. So I think that if somebody warned you and said, listen, it's not going to be easy, there are going to be times when you're really up against it, and you're going to be challenged. And it's the same as life. Business is exactly the same. If you're following a road, you go out on your bike, or you're following a road, you might start off on the flat, then you go downhill, and it's all plain sailing and easy going. And before you know it, you come into a bit of a hill. And sometimes you come to a bit of a mountain. And it's.
I suppose those challenges have probably I imagine you've learned more from those challenges than you have from anything else.
You always learn more from the hard times, and that's where you learn. That's where you get your experiences by It's how you get around those challenges and how you face them, and you know how you beat those challenges and come out the other side.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, that's what defines you, I think, as a person, as a businessman. This is the same in anything, isn't it, in life?
Yeah, of course. You talked about mentors and people that might have had an influence on your career. Is there anyone that sticks out in your mind, or anyone that you can think of that perhaps left a lasting impression? Or
There's a few people really who've given me advice over the years, and that's helped in business. I wouldn't say as one. I haven't had one mentor has helped me along my path or my career path. I would say there's lots of talking to experienced people, or people that are much older than me. When I entered the business, I was quite young. I was in my early 20s, so people maybe took advantage of me at times as well. And again, going back to what we just say there, the best ways to learn sometimes, and things that stick in your mind, is when you learn the hard way. So, but some of the advice I've been given, one of the things that sticks out in my mind that somebody said to me a long time ago was that the first profit is the best profit. And that's something that's always, and as I've gone through my business career, it's really resonated. It is true, and it goes exactly the same as well with the first loss is the best loss as well. Because sometimes what we tend to do in business is obviously we buy and sell vehicles. So majority of the time the vehicles only go one way. So we purchase them at one price, and then you try and sell them at a profit. And sometimes for no reason whatsoever, that vehicle might not sell, or we might be hanging about. And you might get an offer on it one day which isn't where you wanted to be with the profit, and you might turn it down.
yeah,
But then 2 months later, when you have to reduce the vehicle, you go back and say, when I had that opportunity, why didn't I sell it? So it's the same. I've learned to do that is, don't be greedy. It's not what you want to achieve from that vehicle, but it's a profit. You can turn it over, put that money back into something else, and hopefully get a profit from another vehicle. So, and it's the same with a loss. If the vehicle's going down in price and you're losing money on it, it's not ideal in business to be losing money on something, but it's better sometimes to lose £1,000 than 3 or 4 months later lose £5,000.
yeah, of course. I
So
suppose that comes with risk
that was
as well.
one piece of good advice. And then another one that I remembered as well, somebody saying to me early on in my career when I started, is that, always be fair with people, be fair with customers, be good to your staff, look after your staff, and be fair to customers, and you'll be okay in business. And that's a really good advice, and that has helped me along the way as well.
Is there one piece of advice that you always give the salesman as well, in regards to you'd rather shout at them for doing a deal than not doing a deal?
Yeah, exactly. That I always say that. I would always, if the sales guys get an opportunity to do a deal, they don't do it because they think it's not the right deal or whatever, or there's not enough profit in it, or not enough. I always say that I'd rather give you a row for selling it with not enough profit in it than not selling it at all.
Of course.
So again, it goes back to don't be greedy.
Yeah.
The first profit is the best profit. So get it sold. Yes, it's not what we'd like to have out of the vehicle. It's not what we need, but it's a profit. It's sold. We can put that money back and go again.
Yeah, of course.
So it's about keeping the wheel turning at all times, And I probably always compared our business to, say, a fruit and veg shop, where you buy your fruit and veg. It's got a shelf life before it goes off, or before it starts to rot. And I look at the vehicles or the stock in exactly the same way. We buy them at a price. At some stage or another, they're going to depreciate. So the longer you keep them, the more they depreciate, the less profit you get.
Yeah, of course. And it's probably case by case as well with the type of vehicle, I suppose, you'll know better than anyone else. If you've bought something specific, then, perhaps you'll wait a bit longer for it to sell, It's going to sell to the right person, or is it,
Yeah, but again, you have to look at that. And if you've got something that's a bit special, then your target audience, your market is going to be a lot smaller. So, for instance, if you buy a small white van, then your target audience is big. If you buy a cherry picker or something, then your audience is very small.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
it goes back the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. If you get an opportunity to sell something, my motto has always been to sell it, take your profit, and move on. And it's the same. People who've invested in stocks and shares, will resonate with it very well, because you buy a share at 10 pence a share, it rises to 50 pence, and you think, I'll sell it. That's my target, or whatever else. I'll keep hold of it a little bit more just in case it goes up. But it gets to 50 pence, and it starts dropping down, back down 45, 40, 35, 30, wherever. And you think, why didn't I sell it at the peak? But nobody knows where the peak is, So again, it's not being greedy. It's being happy, or with the profit that you take. If you'd sold at 40 pence, you'd have still made 30 pence on it.
Yeah.
So per share. So
it's a good way of looking at it.
exactly. And it's the same thing when they're going back down. When they're sliding back down, sometimes you think, oh, well, hang on, because it might go back up. But then it keeps sliding. You think, why didn't I sell it?
Got rid. Yeah.
At 20 pence rather than where it is now at 5 pence.
It's a good lesson for someone out there.
It is. It's definitely a good lesson. I think the lesson is, don't be greedy.
Yeah.
Take your profit, keep turning things over.
Slightly different question now. So we talked about your drive and mentality and things like that, but what is it that gives you motivation? What is that one thing that perhaps motivates you more than anything else?
Well, it's not money. No. And most people think that, the determination is all driven by money or whatever. For me, that's, if I'm driven by trying to be the best at what we do, and that's from the ground up. That's everything. So that's in the vehicles that we sell, that we try and sell the best vehicles, used and new. We give the best service. We have the best facilities, and the best backup. And that's what...
and so the results of those things motivate you to do better?
They do. That's my motivation, is being good at what we do, and trying to be the best at what we do, trying to be a leader in the marketplace at what we do. And I think that if you do that well, all of those things we've just talked about, I think that profits will just naturally come, or money will naturally come. I think that, what you need to do first of all is make sure that you've got everything right.
Just start with the basics first, and
absolutely. The starting the basics is getting the best staff, doing the best job. You've got great premises. And then it's buying the best vehicles, hand-picking the best vehicles that we can, and then making sure that we do the best that we can. We do everything that we can with those vehicles to make sure that they're in the best condition, ready for sale, and looking after the customer and just customer service.
Of course, and obviously we use the internet for everything we do, buying vehicles, selling vehicles, price checking vehicles. Do you see in, 10, 15 years, do you see that kind of taking over, where perhaps you won't need as many people, interacting with customers? Do you think the internet will take over that sort of thing? Or?
I don't personally, and I wouldn't like to see that. I still think that people buy from people. Do you know what I mean? So you still need, we pride ourselves on, answering the phone and speaking to people. We've got live chat on our website, so people who don't want to talk can talk through the internet. But I think that the majority of people still want to talk to somebody and,
have that interaction.
Yeah, and I hope that stays like that. I'm sure it will.
Hopefully. So you have to be careful how you answer the next question. So who's the most influential person in your life at the moment? And what type of effect have they had on you?
That's quite an easy one to answer for me. And the person, who's been behind me for the last 30 years is my wife, Sarah. And there's a saying which goes that behind every good man, there's a better woman. And I can back that up. That is true.
I'll back that up, yeah.
Yeah, she's been there. We've been through thick and thin with the business. We've faced hard times and we've had good times. But through every single period of that time, that she's been by my side or been behind me, either pushing me forward or pulling me back.
Or reining
me in. Yeah, I'm sort of, and we've got a great relationship that, as you know, I'm 100 mile an hour and I want to buy 100 vans, and then Sarah's asking me, do you really want to buy 100 vans? Why didn't you buy 20 or why didn't you buy 10? Do you mean? So normally we buy something in between, in the middle then.
Yeah.
So, it's a great relationship, and she's had, a great influence on me, and I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for your mother, Sarah.
Yeah. So you're equally as part of the success as each
Absolutely, 100%. As I say, and I there was no way that I would be where I am today if I had married Sarah, So, but that's definite, yeah.
So she's the influence.
She's made me what I am today and what we are today.
Of course, brilliant. Good answer. I think she'll be pleased with that.
I hope so.
We talk about success. How do you define success? Everybody defines success in a different way, but
yeah,
I'm sure you've got a different answer to most. Where do you see it?
Yeah. Again, it's the same, something we talked about earlier. Some people would define success by money or how much money you've got. For me, that's definitely not the case. I think success is about what you've achieved, really. What you've got, and what we've achieved, or the success is this place. It is the dealership that we've got today, where we've grown from a small yard with a couple of vehicles, or to a bigger and better premises, all on every couple of years, until we've got to this where we are today. And for me, this is success, and about where we are, really.
I suppose the memories as well that you've made over the years with along the road with the first, like you say, the first yard, and moving on to the second yard and things like that. So you've got all those memories as well, haven't you, of the growth and things like that. So
yeah, we even dig photos out now and then to remind ourselves of it as well, where it all started, and how it's progressed, I suppose. But yeah, obviously they stick in my mind that I've got employees, or I've got an employee who's been with me for 32, 33 years, who reminds me of the first
the good old days,
of where we started, and how we did it, and so that's quite amusing at times.
Yeah, that's for another episode, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a full episode in itself. But okay, so we talked about previous years, and what's next for you? What do you see yourself doing in the next couple of years?
I think more of the same, really. I think over the last 3 years since the pandemic, that I've learned to sit back a little bit. So I'm sort of semi-retired. I've allowed the staff, given them, I've trusted the staff that we've got, and given them more responsibilities, and I think they flourished with that. And it's proven to me that the business not just copes well without me, but it's exceeded my expectations as well, and I think that's been a big thing for me, because when I first started in business, I did everything because I had to, because it was just me and maybe one or two others as we progressed. But as we've grown, and we've now got 26 staff, and majority of staff has been with us for a long time, and we're talking probably average is 15, 20 years, that those people have progressed within the business, and I've trusted them and given them more responsibility to do the managerial roles in the business. And, I can now go away for a week, a month, and the business is run exactly the same. So for me, it's following other passions that I've got, taking a little bit of a back seat, always overseeing the business by being, in the dealership 1 or 2 days a week. But, if I want to go away for a month, which I've done this year, I know that this place will be looked after. So,
well, I suppose that goes back to the drive and the success that we talked about earlier on. For most parts, you'll want to go away on holiday, but then know that the business can be run without you. But then come back and still want to be involved and still want to...
And even when I'm on holidays, this is what I love about, again, we talking about influences on, on how the industry's changed. And again, we go back to the internet. I could be the other end of the world, and I can still keep an eye on a daily basis of what's happening here. And I do that anyway, because it goes back to having a passion for the business again. That I will take my laptop and I will get my laptop out early in the morning, perhaps when your mother's sleeping or whatever, and I'll have a couple of hours on my laptop looking at, on our dealer management system about what's happening, about what's been bought, what's been sold, what's going on, how many inquiries we've had. You can see the bank account. So, I don't say you can run it from the other side of the world, but you can certainly keep an eye on it from.
And have an influence as well.
Yeah. And to say, it's a phone call or it's a text or it's an email, to ask a question or to keep in contact. So, that's changed it massively for me. And as I say, the big thing from the pandemic is learning to leave go a little bit of the business, that, I don't need to be here. I used to think that I had to be here 5 days a week, 6 days a week. And I don't, because, as I say, I trust the people that work in the business now. Everybody, you know.
Yeah, of course, and that's part of the success as well now, though, I suppose.
It is.
You can kind of sit back, can't you? So.
And what I've also seen from that as well, which is quite nice, is when you trust people and you give people responsibility or more responsibility, they actually flourish. And sometimes, I always used to think that nobody could do the job like me. So whether it was the buy-in or whether it was the preparation or different things, I used to think, nobody's going to prep it, nobody's going to do it like me. But I've been pleasantly surprised to find that, the great, brilliant staff that we've got working for us, not just do a job, but do it better than what I did it.
I suppose because people can put their energy or most of their energy into that one thing, whereas if you're trying to do it all yourself, you're not giving your full attention to all those
It's a very
things.
difficult thing as a business person, I think, especially if a founder of a business, to delegate certain things. It takes time, and it takes that, first of all, doing it and building up the trust with that employee that they can do the job. So that's a big thing, is letting go of some of the responsibilities that you've always done.
It must be tough for a lot of business owners as well, especially you when you first started out, kind of, like you say, letting go and not so much doing everything yourself, which you're used to doing, it's kind of giving the trust to other people and kind of seeing how they get on, really. So,
Yeah. No, it is difficult. But as I say, I've been really pleased how the people who I've given the responsibility to have what they've done with the job. They've done fantastically well.
Yeah, great. And finally, how would you like to be remembered? I know this is going to be an awkward question, but how would
Very
you like
awkward.
to be remembered?
I'm not going anywhere, so I hope I'm going to be about for
eventually. Let's say eventually, how would you like to be remembered?
Eventually, how would I like to be remembered?
Or maybe when you retire, if you retired eventually, how would you like people to think about you?
What, in another 20 years' time, is it something like that?
Yeah, 5, 10.
I'd like to be remembered. I'd like to think that that I was fair in business, fair to the people I work with, and that we had a good business, or I had a good business and just looked after people really, and just was fair in life. As I said earlier, you know, when somebody gave me that advice years ago, is to be, you know, be fair to people, you know, and I'd like to be remembered for that, as being good to, you know, my customers, good to the employees, good to the suppliers. You know, we always pay people on time. So just being a fair business person, really, and being a good business person.
Well, thank you very much. Really enjoyed that one. That's probably my favorite one so far. Yeah. So if you like the episode today, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. My name is Elliot Spear. Thanks very much for watching.